She was annoying me through the show, but in that moment, I was like, girl, shut up. He was just about to, oh, what's wrong with you?
Roxy says we're gonna talk about it. Roxy says we're gonna talk about it.
Let's do this. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxy with Roxy Says, and we're gonna talk about it. So today we are getting into the Love is Blind Season 4 reunion, and it was a lot. First things first, Netflix. How do you set a date and a time for an event and you show up late? What is that? And then on top of that, you decide to do it on April 16th? My birthday? I have made the decision to take it personally, okay? Now let's get straight into it with the first couple. Nick and Vanessa Lachey. Yeah, y'all are on the list, okay? More so Vanessa. Nick, you cool. Nick is always cool. Vanessa, girl, you got the people down at the courthouse petitioning for you to no longer host Love is Blind. You did a lot. You did a lot in this reunion. Next season, just make Vanessa a cast member because clearly she is not satisfied being a host. She wants to be a cast member, okay? All jokes aside, during this reunion, Vanessa cut these people off while they were talking so many times. She cut them off. She made their situations about herself and her marriage. She just did a lot, and it was kind of annoying to watch. I said, girl, Vanessa, shut up, like 20 times during this reunion. Comment down below and let me know how many times you said, Vanessa, shut up, because I know you did. So next we have Kwame and Chelsea. Now, if you've seen my previous reviews, you know how I feel about Kwame and Chelsea. Or should I say felt? I would be lying if I said that Kwame and Chelsea didn't look like a completely new couple at this reunion. I would be lying. Listen, they looked happy, okay? They both looked great. Chelsea looked sexy. Kwame looked fine, okay? This is the best I ever seen Kwame look. I was like, is that Kwame? He looked handsome. The body language between Kwame and Chelsea is also very different. They look comfortable with each other. They look like they're in love. I don't see that look of nervousness. I don't hear that nervous chuckle that he would do. Like, I didn't see that. They look like a completely different couple. And I am definitely hoping that that is a sign that they have grown. So I say all that to say, for me, it can still be one of two things. Maybe they just needed more time together to grow and to learn each other, right? Maybe now that there's not this race to the altar and this uncertainty, Chelsea and Kwame are able to just love each other. They're able to communicate better because there's not the pressure of this show. There's not the pressure of cameras around them. And I think that that came with time. I feel like for Chelsea especially, she seems more confident in the relationship. Chelsea also lets us know that she was able to meet Kwame's mother. She was able to meet the family. And I'm sure we can say the same for Kwame, right? Now that he has his mother's approval, he feels better about being in this relationship with Chelsea. And also they do confirm that Barbara is Kwame's sister. I did touch on that in a previous review where we did discuss the rumors that were circulating about Barbara being a Hyde actress. And I said, I really hope that this lady is Kwame's sister because they definitely bonded and shared a moment. So I was happy to learn that that is Kwame's sister. Now it seems like everything is all A-okay.
However,
the other possibility can definitely be that the two just learned how to look comfortable together. They learned how to look like they were in love. Maybe the first goal for them was to make it to the altar, and now the second goal for them was to just make it to the reunion. Maybe they're both playing their parts, right? This reunion is happening a year later. This reunion is live. So we know that they've been on social media. They see the comments. They read what people think about their relationship. Maybe they made some adjustments so that when they came on the reunion, they would look like they were a couple who were in love. We don't know, but we have seen a couple on Love is Blind show up to the reunion, all smiles, for them to only be divorced not too long after. And I'm hoping that that's not the case for Kwame and Chelsea. I hope that they really have grown and that they are, in fact, as madly and as deeply in love as they appear to be.
But we shall see.
So now we move on to the love triangle between Kwame, Chelsea, and Micah, okay? So they show us a clip of Chelsea and Micah walking their little dogs, and the two ladies have a conversation regarding the conversation that Kwame had with Micah at the pool. So Chelsea asks her, how did that even come about? And Micah says,
I think I made a joke.
Girl, you know what you said. Like, come on now. Stop playing. And Chelsea is like, yeah, but it turned into a 20-minute conversation. It shouldn't have turned into that. To me, that's Kwame's responsibility. You can't put the responsibility on someone outside of your relationship to do what's best for your relationship. That's between the people within the relationship. Kwame is a grown man. He knows that conversation was a bit too long, or maybe he didn't because he was talking to the love of his life. But that's not on Micah. To me, that's not on Micah. That's on Kwame to make sure that in all situations, even if he's having a conversation with Micah, he's still being respectful to Chelsea, and he's not having this long, drawn-out conversation when his fiance just asked for some guacamole and chips, and he still hasn't brought it to her because he's still at the pool chatting it up with another woman. Like, come on. And then on top of that, we know that Kwame did the same thing again at her birthday dinner. Even in this reunion, she says, we spoke about it for hours and hours. You did? And then at your birthday dinner, he turned around and did the same thing? So is that Michael's fault too? So then they asked Kwame how he felt looking back at the conversations that he had with Micah. And I didn't like his response at all. It sounded like excuses to me. It sounded like he was trying to separate himself from his actions, right? He blamed his ego. The moment got the best of him. The sun was in his eye. And he says that those conversations were not a representation of his relationship, nor were they a representation of who he is. And I'm like, well, then who is it a representation of? Was that not you having those conversations? And not only did you do this once, you did it twice, Kwame. So his apology fell flat for me. It really did. Then on top of that, he tries to make it seem like he was completely over Micah from like back in the pods. He said that there was a number of dates that they both cut short leading up to their breakup. So he kind of knew that they weren't going to work out. He kind of knew that she wasn't the girl for him. And Nick is like, yeah, but when she turned down your proposal, you were crying. Clearly, you felt some type of way about it and you were deeply hurt about Micah turning you down. Kwame says that he just had to process his emotions. And that's understandable and that can be true, but then don't play in our face and say, oh, you had no doubts, you had no second guesses, when every time that you met up with Micah, you were literally second guessing. You were literally asking her, do you think that you made the right choice? And when she would ask you, do you think you made the right choice? You were like, So don't come on the reunion and now try to make it seem like you had no doubt in your mind, as if we didn't just watch a number of episodes with you having inappropriate conversations with the woman who turned you down. Don't insult our intelligence like that, Kwame. Don't do it. Vanessa asked the couple, what is something that was misunderstood about your relationship that you would want the viewers to know? And Chelsea says that every conversation that Kwame had with Micah was pushing a narrative that wasn't theirs. So was she trying to secretly tell us that production made Kwame and Micah have these conversations just to like be messy or like to spice up the show? Because other than that, if that's not what she's saying, then she's still delusional, okay? If production didn't say, hey, Kwame and Micah, go over there and talk to each other for like a good 20 minutes. If production didn't say that and he did it on his own, then that is your story. That is your narrative. And no one pushed that on you. That is what Kwame chose to do in that moment. Now we have the king and queen of Love is Blind season 4, our beloveds, Brett and Tiffany. They got the least time on this reunion because they're so unproblematic. Like, it's all positivity with them. It's all love, but it's all good. That means that we know that they're in a good space, okay? So Brett and Tiffany are still madly in love. We love to see it. Tiffany lets us know that she moved from Seattle to Portland, and actually during this whole experiment, Brett was actually driving 3 hours back and forth to see Tiffany. A determined man. Tiffany says something that they do is that they never stop dating, right? And we know that Brett is a thinker and a planner. They probably go on the cutest little dates, don't they? And when Tiffany says that, Vanessa brings up the comment that Tiffany made after they got married when she said, oh, let's go to the bridal suite and get busy real quick, right? And then Vanessa says, we have never before seen footage of you and Brett in your bridal suite. Take a look. And Tiffany looked shook, okay? By her look alone, I think that they did do something in that bridal suite because Tiffany looked like, what the hell? So after they showed the clip, Vanessa asked them, did you guys consummate the marriage? And I'm like, why are you asking them that? Like, I could understand the point of that question if they were one of those like waiting to get married couples. We have seen some couples on Love is Blind who didn't sleep together, but we know Tiffany and Brett been getting it on, okay? So like, why even ask that? Like, I don't know. The question was like unnecessary to me from Vanessa, and it was like a bit intrusive. If they had sex in the bridal suite or not, like, who cares? They've been having sex. Where you been? Next, we learned that Tiffany and Marshall actually went on a few dates together. Side note, I think that Netflix definitely took some things out of the re-uploaded version because I did catch piece of the live, right? I did catch piece of it. And in this scene, I remember Marshall saying that him and Tiffany were too far apart in age, but he felt like Tiffany was an amazing woman and he knew that Brett was an amazing man, so they would work well together. But when I rewatched the reunion, that age part wasn't in there. I thought that was kind of strange. So I'm like, what else did y'all take out? What else did y'all remove? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. So now we're moving on to Bliss, Zach, and his beard. Okay, let me tell you something. Zachary, that beard looks nice. The beard looks nice.
Irina, I bet he don't look like a cartoon character anymore.
I bet he don't. Zach grew that beard and started hanging out with Bliss's daddy, and he said, I got time today. Zach didn't come to play with y'all today. He wanted all the smoke. To me, Bliss and Zach are the exception to the rule. In this experiment, I am not a fan of being someone's second choice. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. I don't feel like it's a good start to a relationship. However, I have such high hopes for Bliss and Zach. Let me tell you something. Through this entire reunion, Bliss and Zach were going to bat for each other. They were backing each other up. They were just like a dynamic duo with this strong bond that no one else can break. Did y'all see that? They were jumping in for one another. Like, I loved it. They seemed so in sync, like they were on one accord the whole reunion. Zach was definitely giving that Brennan energy. Y'all remember Brennan from last season when he was going in on Cole? He was spilling tea. That was Zach at this reunion, okay? So Zach speaks about that song that they danced to at the end of their wedding, I Hope You Dance. And he mentions that the song is really a synopsis of their love story. To never fear those mountains in the distance. And of course, that mountain was Irina. And that he took the path of least resistance. And of course, that path was Irina. Zach discussed what we already know. He picked Irina because he was afraid of being rejected by Bliss and her family. So that kind of makes me think like, so did he pick Irina because he figured she was kind of low-hanging fruit? Bliss says that Zach and her dad are best of buds now and that he's actually paying for their honeymoon. And everyone is like, oh, that's so sweet. And I'm like, what? Netflix. Okay, listen, Netflix, production, Kinetic, y'all need to be paying for these people's honeymoons. I don't care if you paid for them to go to Mexico. The couples who say I do, y'all should pay for their honeymoons. And y'all should pay for a year's worth of couples therapy. Like, y'all made enough money off of these people. Y'all could pay for their honeymoon. And y'all should buy them a house. I'm being extra, but y'all could afford a honeymoon, Netflix. Come on now. So now it gets messy because we move on to the mean girls, Micah and Irina. Ooh, child. Y'all ready? Okay. So they show all of the clips of when Irina and Micah were being just mean and nasty to the other girls in the house. They show them laughing at Amber when Amber was crying. And if you saw my earlier reviews, you know that Amber was my girl. I really liked Amber, right? They show them laughing at Tacky Jackie when she was crying. And they just show them being really nasty and petty to other people in the house, laughing at other women's pain during this experience. And you know what's funny? This scene jolted my memory because in my last review, I felt so bad for Micah that Paul said no to her and that her friends were laughing at her pain. But this reminded me of who Micah really is. This reminded me of what Micah's done. I'll honestly say I forgot for like an episode or two. I really did. Her relationship with Paul was so cute to me and so wholesome to me. I forgot that Micah was an evil little witch. So Shelby laughing at Micah's pain is nothing more than Micah's karma for all of the other women that she laughed at when they were crying, when their heart was broken, when they were in tears. And while they're playing the clips of Micah and Irina being mean in the house, Paul just looks like, I dodged a mother effing bullet not marrying this girl. And I'm happy that social media called them out for it to the point where they had to make apologies. So after the clips play and they come back to the studio, Irina just appears out of nowhere like the Wicked Witch of the West. And Vanessa asks her, like, Irina, how do you feel looking back at those videos? How does it make you feel? And Irina says, and I said, girl, you better not cry. Girl, you don't do it. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just need a minute. And she was so unbelievable to the point where someone in the audience Someone in the audience started laughing. Did y'all hear it? That was me in the audience, by the way. No, it wasn't me, but that audience was messy. If I was in the audience, I'd have been like,
Girl, stop crying, girl.
So Irina starts talking, and all I hear is womp, 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 just saying anything that she can to excuse her behavior. She said she came into this from a selfish perspective, and she wasn't there to make any friends. And she says that it's painful that that's the image that the world is left with. And I'm like, well, that was you. You did it. You said those things. So you have no one to blame but yourself. And it's brought up that in the show, like when we first met you, Irina, you let us know that you had insecurities of your own. She was really insecure about her skin, about her acne scars. She dealt with bullying. She dealt with people making fun of her. And as soon as she had the opportunity to be mean and to make fun of someone else, that's what she chose to do. I kind of feel like she almost said no to Zach before he could say no to her. And they had that conversation in Mexico when they were like breaking up. And Zach said, yeah, like about day 2 or 3, I felt like this wasn't going to work out. And she had to one-up him and say,
the first time I saw you, I knew it wasn't going to work out.
Because she's insecure. So no, this man can't tell me that he didn't like me after day 3. I have to tell him I didn't like him the second I saw him. And I love how classily Bliss read Irina. And she says, look, I know that you're saying that you've dealt with mental issues and you had panic attacks, but you cannot use that as an excuse for just being mean and cruel to people. And I hope that you've grown and I hope that you become a better person. And that was Bliss's classy way of saying, you're trash, okay? You were trash then and you're still trash now. Hopefully you turn into a better person. Bliss was keeping it cute, but that's what she really meant, okay? And Bliss said that it hurt her to see someone that she really loves and someone that is so kind and so sweet be treated so horribly the way that Irina treated Zach. And Irina is still trying to explain it away and give reasons. And you can see that as Irina's talking, Zach is getting more and more irritated with her. Irina says that she went to production and said like, look, this isn't going to work. And they told her to at least go to Mexico and have a breakup conversation with Zach and let him know like, this isn't going to work out. So let's just call it quits. And if that's the case, okay, that's understandable. But that's not what she did. She went there and she treated him like shit. Why is that her go-to reaction? When she was in the house, her go-to response was to be mean and nasty. When she was in Mexico with Zach, her go-to response was to be mean and nasty. Irina, you got a lot of work to do. They asked Zach if he believes what Irina is saying. And he's like, look, what y'all saw was just 1/10 of what happened. She did and said a lot worse. And I'm like, damn, really? It was worse than that? Irina, production really spared you. If it was worse than what we saw, they really spared you, girl. And then Zach drops the bomb and he says, look, let's be real. You came on this show to get famous. Woo! I said Zachary and that beard did not come to play, okay? Then Bliss mentions a DM that Irina sent her when she got to Mexico. Irina DMs Bliss and says, girl, you dodged the bullet. This also shows how sneaky and cruel Irina is. Not only did she not want to be with Zach, she also wanted to ruin Zach's chances of possibly being happy with someone else. And Irina knew how much Bliss loved Zach. Remember, she made him cupcakes for his birthday while Irina forgot his birthday. So Irina says, let me message Bliss because if I can't have him and I don't want to be with him, I don't even like him, but I don't want you to get the chance to be happy with him either. Irina, girl, you need help, sis. And then Irina had the nerve to lie to us and say that Zach is everything that she wants look-wise. Like, he's totally her type on paper looks-wise. And I'm like, girl, the cartoon character? The guy that you told to his face that he looks like a cartoon character. The guy that you said the second you saw him, you knew it wasn't going to work out. Are we talking about the same people? You're a liar. We don't believe you and you got everything that you deserve. I'm happy that they held your feet to the fire for your behavior during this season. With that being said, I feel like they leaned into Irina way more than they did Micah, right? The clip was showing both of them being mean girls, but then they drilled Irina, and when they got to Micah, all they asked her about was how she felt about Irina and Paul flirting. No! Make Micah own her shit too. She was a mean girl too, right? Like all the time y'all spent drilling Irina, Micah should have been getting drilled too. I was like, yeah, now it's Micah's turn. Yeah, get her. Get her. And then they didn't even really get into it with Micah. Boo. So now we get to Micah and Paul, and they ask Micah, if Paul said yes, would she have said yes? And she says that she would have. And she said she didn't want to live the rest of her life wondering if Paul only said yes so that he wouldn't embarrass her by saying no. And I think that Micah would have said yes. I really do. Now, do I think that they would be in this long, loving relationship? No. But do I think at the altar she would have said yes? Yeah. Now, would her intentions be 100% pure? I don't know. But I do think she would have said yes. So they bring up the moment after the wedding when Paul is in his confessional and he says that he just couldn't see Micah as a mother. And Micah says she was really blindsided by that comment and she was really hurt by that comment because Paul knows how much she wants a family. He knows how much she wants to have children. She's an only child. And Micah also says that during their relationship, even when they started dating after the altar, Paul never brought that up. He never brought up him not being able to see her as a mother, as a concern at all. And Paul says that he phrased it wrong. He says, what I meant to say was, I can't picture us both as parents. No, Paul, I'm sorry. I don't believe you. I think that the way that that statement came out your mouth is exactly how you meant it. I think that what happened is he saw that he was getting some backlash online. People were saying that his comments were really mean or insensitive. So he's trying to make it seem like, oh no, I didn't mean just Micah. I meant the both of us. I don't believe it, Paul. I think that you meant exactly what you said, the exact way that you said it. So they had this whole back and forth about what it would take for Paul to see this nurturing element in Micah. And Paul kind of tries to explain it. He's like, it's not something that I can just say to do. It's just something that has to come naturally. And Vanessa asked Micah, are you as confused as I am? Because I'm confused. Girl, it's not about you. It's not about you. And then right in that moment, Zach in his beard jump in on Paul's behalf. And he's like, look, Paul and I were on the phone till the wee hours in the morning talking about this decision. It's not like it's a decision that was easy for Paul to make. He really, truly loved you. He just wasn't 100% sure if marriage was the right thing for you guys to do in that moment, at that time. And Zach says that he doesn't appreciate that Micah is out for blood. Like Paul's apologizing and Micah is really trying to play the victim when we all know that you didn't even really want to marry Paul. Woo! And Zach says on a drive back with Micah, she was talking really bad about Paul. And Zach was about to spill the tea and Vanessa cut him off. Oh my gosh. Go back to that scene. Zach was about to go into detail on what Micah was saying about Paul. And Vanessa cut him off. Vanessa, girl. She was annoying me through the show. But in that moment, I was like, girl, shut up. He was just about to... Oh, what's wrong with you? And then it's kind of revealed that Irina was the one who was saying that Micah didn't really want to marry Paul. Whatever. So now we have Jackie and Marshall. Okay, when the show first started and they showed everyone, the first thing I said was, where the hell is Jackie? Jackie and Josh aren't there. So I feel split on this. I feel like it was really cowardly for them to not show up. But then part of me feels like maybe production told them not to show up, right? I would need some type of confirmation so that I could know 100% how I feel about it. But we'll get into that. Jackie and Josh have been dating for a year. I think that they live together now. So they've been together, rocking, going strong. And Jackie lets us know that she has grown. So the girl that we saw on the previous episodes, she says she's not that person anymore. And she also wanted to make it clear that she had already broken up with Marshall before she met up with Josh at that Starbucks and they started making out and taking each other's clothes off. But I'm like, how clear of a breakup could that have been if Marshall was still going to get his tux fit? Or is production just being messy and did they change up the timeline of things with how they arranged the show? We don't know. So Vanessa asked Jackie, what was the breaking point in your relationship? And Jackie says it's when Marshall called her a derogatory term, okay? She said that they were joking on each other and he called her a derogatory term, and that's when she knew that she didn't want to be with this guy anymore. I don't know when this joke occurred, but I don't think that's when she knew. I think Jackie knew very soon after meeting Marshall that she didn't want to be with him. Vanessa asked her why she decided to keep the ring, and Jackie says that she kept the ring because she knew that Marshall only wanted the ring back so he can give it to another castmate who he dated for a short period of time. I'm gonna be honest. Let me know what y'all think down below. Y'all might not agree with me, but hear me out. I think that Marshall asked for that ring back out of pure pettiness. And I'm going to tell you why. Marshall knows he didn't buy that ring. Stay with me, okay? So Marshall said that this ring was a symbol of his love and he felt like Jackie didn't deserve to have it anymore. So he wanted it back. Do I think that Jackie should have given this ring back to Marshall? No. Let's be real. Marshall didn't buy this ring. So for him to ask for the ring back, to me, it's weird. Like, I wouldn't be on a show like this and ask back for something that I know I didn't purchase. I didn't buy it. So I think it would be kind of arrogant to ask for it back. If I was Marshall, I would just be like, oh, whatever. Like, whatever. Now, should Jackie return the ring to Netflix or let's say the production company who purchased the ring? No. Listen, stick with me, okay? Stick with me. Y'all gonna be so mad. I'm thinking about it logically. No emotions involved, no sentimental values. Listen, Netflix and this production company have made millions off of Love is Blind, okay? They made millions off of this season. Let Jackie keep her little ring, okay? Like, Netflix made a whole lot of money off of this show, and a large part of it was because of the drama and the toxicity that Jackie brought to this show. And y'all already know how I feel about Jackie. I'm not going up for Jackie because I'm a fan or anything like that. I don't like Jackie. I think that she's a mean person. But in terms of giving back Netflix or Kinetic, these companies that made millions and millions of dollars, giving them back the ring, it's like, why? Like, for what? And giving back Marshall the ring when he didn't pay for it? Why? For what? Now, if this was a ring that Marshall purchased, you better give him back his ring. 1,000,000%. Give him back his ring. But to give Marshall the ring and he didn't pay for it, and he doesn't have anyone else to give it to anyway, like, why give Marshall back the ring? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Let me know in this. We can disagree in the comments. That's fine. Let me know what you think. That's just how I feel about this ring situation. I don't think Marshall should have it back. I don't think Netflix should have it back. I don't think the production company should have it back. And I don't think Jackie should have it. This is not your normal case of people getting engaged and there's a ring and there's, things that are exchanged. This is completely different. So there's a lot of nuance when it comes to this ring situation. I don't think the solution is just cut and dry. You get what I'm saying?
I feel like in this interview, Vanessa really dropped the ball. And I think that because Jackie and Josh weren't there, she should have really made sure that she asked the right questions. And you can clearly see her bias during this interview. She was so happy to talk to Jackie and Josh. And I'm not saying that she should have been rude, but I didn't feel like she grilled her enough, especially when we see how she grilled Marshall. She totally let Jackie off the hook in this interview. And because of Vanessa's bias, us, the viewers, missed out on getting a lot of questions answered, a lot of claims that Jackie made, a lot of things that we saw on social media. These things weren't even asked by Vanessa. So that interview fell flat for me.
I wish that Vanessa went more in depth, especially with this conversation about aggression. Jackie, you need to tell me, what's the aggression that you were looking for? What's the aggression that Josh is giving you that Marshall wasn't giving you? Like, are y'all fist fighting in bed? Like, I want to know the type of aggression that Jackie was looking for in her relationship, because all that it seemed like she was looking for was something that was dangerous and toxic as hell. So they finish the interview with Jackie and Josh and they get back to Marshall. And let me say this loud and clear. Marshall is not as hurt as he wants us to believe. Marshall doesn't feel like he was robbed of true love. Marshall was robbed of a moment, but he doesn't feel robbed of being able to experience a connection unlike no other, a life-changing bond with someone. Marshall feels robbed of a moment. Stick with me. Stick with me. I said in my previous review that all Marshall cared about was making it to the altar. Even after Jackie broke up with him, Marshall was saying, the point of this is to make it to the altar. And I said, no, the point of this was to fall in love and then make it to the altar. But y'all didn't fall in love. You can't skip that part. But Marshall didn't care about that part. All he wanted to do was make it to the altar. And let me tell you something. Marshall says that he doesn't know what he would have said. I know what he would have said. Marshall would have said no. Let me tell you what Marshall wanted. Marshall wanted his Zeneb moment. Remember Zeneb last season with Cole when she gave that whole speech and turned around and walked away and her whole family got up and started applauding and followed her out the chapel? That is what Marshall wanted. Marshall felt robbed of his moment to go on the altar with Jackie and turn her down. I don't think that Marshall would have said yes to Jackie. I think that he wanted to be able to make it to the altar just so he could turn this girl down in front of everyone. And he would have had every right to, don't get me wrong. But for Marshall, I think that this whole experience was more about winning than it was about love. I really do. And then he also felt robbed of his moment at the reunion because Jackie and Josh weren't even there. So he says He feels robbed twice. I'm telling y'all, listen to me. Marshall is not as hurt by this situation as he wants us to think. Marshall is mad. He's irritated. This was a competition to Marshall. His goal was to win. His goal was to make it to the altar. That doesn't mean that he was going to say yes. His responses in this reunion show how toxic that Marshall really is. Tell me what you think below. And when you do, try not to lean too much into the fact that we see Marshall as a sweetheart, and just think about it a little deeply and think about what he was saying at the reunion. He wasn't saying his heart was broken. He wasn't saying how in love he was with Jackie, and he wasn't saying that. He felt robbed of not being able to make it to the altar. He felt robbed of not being able to confront Jackie and Josh at the reunion. Think about it. Now back to the conversation about the jokes that Jackie and Marshall were making. So Jackie was making jokes about Marshall's sexuality, and Marshall says that because of that, he told Jackie that she had a strong jawline and for all he knows, she could be a man. But he says that he didn't say the term, right? I think he did. And I think that Vanessa should have grilled Jackie a bit more during that interview. She didn't go into the text messages where Jackie was calling Marshall sweet and bringing up questions about his sexuality. There's a possibility that maybe that's a conversation that production didn't want to go too deep into because they didn't want to offend anyone. But I definitely think that she should have asked Jackie more questions about that situation. Now listen, I think both Jackie and Marshall said some mean and disgusting things to each other. I think that Jackie used derogatory terms, and I think that Marshall used derogatory terms too. I don't hold Marshall on this like angelic pedestal because I can see that when these two argue, they can get really low, both of them. So when Vanessa asked Marshall about the term that was used, he kind of justifies it and says, look, this girl has been making jokes about my sexuality this whole time. So I finally came back at her and said what I said. But he says that he did not use a derogatory term. Like I said, I think Marshall did use a derogatory term. I hope he didn't, but I wouldn't put it past him. I really wouldn't. I'm happy that Jackie and Marshall are not together. It's great that Jackie's happy. Hopefully Marshall finds someone to love him and treat him right. But like I said in my previous videos, both Jackie and Marshall need to be in therapy. They both need work, okay? The reason why Marshall was able to kind of slide by with his toxicity is because Jackie's was so out there. It was so in your face to the point where Jackie's behavior made Marshall look like a saint. And he's not. But because the images of what we saw from the both of them were so polarizing, it made it easier for Marshall to kind of skate under the radar. But Marshall needs a lot of work too. This scene ends with Marshall saying, look, we've both moved on. It's been a year. Let's just call this somewhat of a truce and let's end this here. Like, we don't need any rebuttals. Jackie is in a happy relationship. Let's just end it here. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. Jackie does come off as a little bit unhinged, so I wouldn't be surprised if she posts something else on Instagram or on Twitter trying to redeem herself. I would not. And side note, didn't Jackie tweet and say at the reunion she would be vindicated and she was going to have receipts? And where's all of that? So that's part of why I'm not sure if production told Jackie, like, look, girl, stay your crazy ass at home. Maybe she had some real receipts that she wanted to discuss. Maybe it was too much. Or maybe she was just lying. Maybe she was just lying and trying to save face because she saw everything that people were saying about her on social media. So she just made anything up to say, look, wait till the reunion. I'm going to be vindicated. And she knows she had no real evidence. So she didn't show up to the reunion, nor did she give any real receipts during her interview with Vanessa. Anyways, I'm over them. So now wrapping up the reunion, we get little clips of all of the couples together. So we see Brett and Tiffany. Listen, Brett and Tiffany look good, okay? Did Brett have all of that during the season or has he been working out, okay? He looked good. Tiffany looked good. Kwame and Chelsea look good. Their apartment is beautiful. Zach and Bliss are singing to each other in front of their little owl pictures. Like, everything is right in the world, okay? And then we also see that the couples hang out together. They vacation together. So not only were love connections made, but friendship connections were also made. So it's beautiful to see. I'm happy that they were able to build real friendships from this crazy experience. Now they give us a little segment where they speak on Kwame'S name. So remember, there was a lot of talk about why Kwame wanted to go by Alex instead of Kwame. But in this part of the reunion, they reveal that Kwame's name is Alex. So if his name is Alex, why was that even up for discussion? Are the other castmates going by nicknames or by their middle name? Isn't everyone just going by their first name? And he does say that they cut out part of this interview where he says that he's proud of his name and he's proud of who he is. But I don't understand why that was even a conversation. Like, my name is Alex. Like, did he want to go by Kwame and then they said no, go by Alex? Or did he want to go by Alex and production told him no, go by Kwame? They didn't really go in depth as much because it still left me kind of confused. Do y'all understand what the point of that was? Like, I don't get it. I feel like he just wanted a chance in the reunion to say like, hey, I'm not self-hating. I love myself. I didn't mind if anyone knew that I was Black. I feel like that's just something that he wanted to put out there because he did catch a lot of backlash for wanting to go by Alex as opposed to Kwame. But now we learned that Alex is his name. So why was that even a conversation? Child, I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Listen, this reunion was a lot. I think that there are a lot of questions that still remain unanswered for me, for you guys. But I am even more excited now to see the after the altar because I want to see who's still going to be together, who's not. And I also want to see who's going to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. But seriously, let me know if there's any other shows that you guys would like me to review with Love is Blind Season 4 coming to an end. And let me know how you feel about the couples of this season. Do you think that they're going to make it? Do you think that they're going to make it at least to the After the Altar special? Tell me your predictions down below and we'll chat. See you next time. Bye! Mama, what do you think? What do you think about this season's reunion?
Roxy says we're gonna talk about it.